Happy Friday.
It's usually Happy Tuesday.
Yes. Tuesday talks, but we will make exceptions for people that we are so excited to have on our podcast. And we didn't have a guest for this Tuesday. So we ended up sacrificing a little bit of time for our Friday to have Kristan on.
Yes, and this is a great podcast. So
Yes.
whoever, if you're here, stay with us. If you have kids, stay with us even more because this is great.
I just saw Kristan pop on. Kristan from That Patriot Teacher is our guest today. And I just invited her on, so she'll be on in just a few minutes.
How are you, everyone that's here?
Hey guys!
Hello!
Finally!
We are excited to have you on.
Yeah, thank y'all for working with my schedule. I know it's been crazy, so I appreciate it.
Absolutely okay. Our schedule is normally crazy. We get into our little molds, and then anything outside of that is like, ah!
Yeah.
We run on a tight schedule, so we understand how little.
Well,
Life happens.
it's toddlerhood. Like, that's what's got me. I'm working on toddler time, and he may pop in and pop out, and we're just going with it.
My 4-year-old is usually with us, but he's learned that it's like if he's here while we do a podcast, it's like,
Yeah.
He's a little older than a toddler, though.
Yeah, them 2-year-olds, they don't care. They don't care.
They have no rules.
No.
They abide by no rules.
There's really no reasoning at this age. It's like,
no.
I'm getting what I want and I'm going to go to war for it. So that's where we're at. I have 2. So we also have a 7-year-old. So 2 major different dynamics happening here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we are excited. So just to let everybody know, we scheduled this podcast. We talked about it. It's been several weeks ago. So I'm excited to go through all the questions and hear your opinions on things.
Yeah.
If you want to give just a short little bio, we usually start with that just to kind of tell who you are and.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so my name is Kristan. I am a teacher and a mama and really passionate. I actually got started speaking up against a lot of just, I guess you could call it woke ideologies in curriculum that I was seeing and things that I just saw that were very anti-God, anti-family, anti-America narratives. And so I just started speaking up on social media and God has opened doors as a result, and it's just been quite an adventure ever since. So,
well, we're excited to hear all about it. We like to tell everybody listening that if it seems like we're asking questions, we are. I like to keep an organized list. It keeps the flow going. It keeps the rhythm of the podcast in line. So it's just very helpful. We don't have to adhere tightly to it. We go down lots of rabbit trails.
Normally we get halfway through. That's great, but
yeah.
Are you ready to get started?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay. From a biblical perspective, I thought we'd start it off with a bang. From a biblical perspective, who is ultimately responsible for the education and formation of children? Parents, the church, or the state?
So I think most parents would agree that parents are responsible, right? Full stop. Parents should be the most involved in their kids' lives. And I think in our culture, parents are so busy. So it's so easy to outsource our responsibilities and put that on the school, right? Put that on the church, even put that on a nanny or someone else. Because, hey, we have bills to pay and we're busy. And so while the church and the school can support and reinforce and come alongside you, they're supporters, they're not the primary voice or should not be the primary voice in a child's life. And so I think I'm very passionate when I say just, as a mama, take an opportunity, all those opportunities. You're in the Chick-fil-A drive-through and your kid asks a question, and just taking in those moments, because it is so easy. And I'm even speaking from my own perspective. It's so easy to outsource because we get busy, and you need to cook dinner and you need to clean the house, but how many opportunities are we missing to truly connect around a dinner table with our families? And so making sure that's priority is huge, especially in a culture that's just like competing for our time constantly.
I it's probably been about 8 years ago now. I used to listen to Eric Metaxas on the radio. This is way back before a podcast. He was just on the radio, and that's even strange to say. Not that there wasn't podcast 8 years ago, but they've really taken off like wildfire in the last couple of years. Anyways, he said that the school boards are an entirely different thing than what education was ever meant to be. It
Yeah.
was supposed to be parents making the decisions for the children and what they would be educated on. And all of this other stuff just came along to interfere with education, really.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree with that. I think we've been told, experts know best, the school's gonna handle it. I mean, even with potty training, I had so many random thought, but I had so many people like, oh, he'll learn when he goes to daycare. And I'm like, well, is it the daycare's responsibility or is it mine? It's good to have that support. I think our kids need support, but we can't outsource our responsibilities for our own children.
Yeah.
So that's
Well, and
critical.
one of the beauties, I didn't see it. I think maybe as a parent, we don't see things sometimes at their importance because we're not seeing the forest for the trees, as it were. But as a
Yeah.
grandparent, I can look back and see, you know, hi.
Thank you. He's bringing me money.
Oh, nice.
I'm getting paid, y'all.
That's awesome. For,
Thank you.
looking back at some,
Oh, shit.
I know, you're good. Hi,
Hi, buddy.
there you are. It's
He is
nice
so
to meet
cute.
you.
Go see daddy. Okay? Go see dada. Sorry, guys.
That's why God makes them cute.
That is why.
He has to make his appearance.
Yes. Well, I was just saying that, I'm a grandma now of 10, and looking at their lives, it's easy to see that parents should have the most influence. It's also easy to see that parents need help.
Yes.
You need help, and it's easy to give maybe more of that help up than, you
I
know,
agree. Yeah, I know. I think parents need to be empowered, realizing like this is the most important job you're going to have and you only have one shot at it.
Right.
You really don't. I mean, it is the most honorable position as a woman. And I just always think like God picked me out of everyone else to parent my children. And so really just seeing that as such an honor and the value in it. It helps kind of take the because
Yeah.
you get in the middle of like toddlerhood and it can be chaos.
That-
Parenting is not easy. It's not, and you're faced with struggles every single day, but I always go back to, God, you picked me specifically to raise these children, and I take that responsibility very seriously.
yes.
Well, and also as like to piggyback on what she was saying, I think that that's like the beauty of God's design also that, it does it takes grandparents and,
Yes.
influence of other people helping because when you're raising your children, you do have a heavy weight on you to get it right the first time and you want to do all that you can and sometimes your brain is like going. So when
Yeah.
you're a grandparent, you get to enjoy your grandkids because you've been through that. and God already showed you all of that. And so I've been thinking about that a lot, like God's full design for the whole, generation to generation to generation is really, really beautiful.
He turned my light. Speaking of children, mine turned my ring light off just now. So there goes my lighting.
They're a blessing. They're a blessing.
Go, go see Dad. Look. Oh, he's got M&Ms.
I heard the giggles.
Yeah, because Dad came in with a pack of M&Ms. Like, come on.
So, could you point out, just as a matter of being helpful to people that maybe need some help, modern culture is slowly shifting responsibility away from parents, and many families don't even realize it's happening. Is there areas that you see where it's happening, where it might be sneaking in other than the school systems?
I think our kids are facing battles that we have never had, that we didn't have to face as kids. Um, and I think a lot of parents are like, what do I do with this? I didn't have all these social media platforms. I had a Razor cell phone at 16, not unlimited access to the internet. And so I think that is navigating that is such a challenge for parents. And I mean, I'm even asking the Lord for wisdom on it too, because I have a 7-year-old and he's like, all my friends are playing Minecraft, and I'm like, oh, how do you, in a digital world where culture is getting more and more, like technology is just exploding, you can't take that away because they're going to grow up in a digital world. They just are. There's no, people say, they need to take computers out of schools. Well, I mean, they're going to be using computers for the rest of their lives. So they have to be competent.
Right.
At the same time, there has to be limits because you have kids that are, I'm telling you, unlimited access to the internet, and how that is affecting them psychologically is, I mean, I've read, is it The Anxious Generation? Amazing book. And how it is affecting our children because they are so young. And I think, yes, school, to answer your question, we're outsourcing to schools, we're outsourcing to all sorts of things, but the most dangerous place that parents are outsourcing is the internet, because the stuff that kids are finding on the internet it gives me chills just thinking about it, just
Yes.
what they are facing. I'm going to fix my light real quick. 1 second. I don't know how it got unplugged. Sorry, guys. I like to have my light on,
Yeah, we can see you now.
but I don't know how it got unplugged. I think my toddler made it loose or something. Um,
Yeah.
but
Well,
yeah, the
go ahead.
digital world
Yes.
is,
It is terrifying, to be honest. And you're right. We, as a kid, I had a little slide phone. You had to push the number 3 times to get the letter, whatever that was called.
texting was not easy. You
Right.
had to work to get that text
And
message through.
for them to just have, I think about that all the time because I have a 15-year-old, a 13-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 4-year-old. Is how do you teach them that? I guess just pure self control. Just because it's at your fingertips does not mean you should indulge, because I can't see every single thing you're seeing. Because when you're scrolling on these apps or YouTube, anything could come up and you have no
Mm-hmm.
control of that. And it's as a parent, how do you relinquish that kind of control to a device? But it's you don't really have to. You just, you just can't have that.
I know. It's
It's
a tough one to navigate. I mean, we didn't face those challenges as kids. Um, I remember we had one computer in our house, and we had to take turns on it, and it was in the family living room, and so everybody saw what you were doing on it. There was
Yes.
no
So it was ours.
rolling in your
That's by
bedroom.
design.
Well,
Yeah,
and you had to, the AOL was like you had to sign on to the internet, like,
yeah,
and then go
AOL.
and use the phone.
Yeah, and it was slow too. Like we had so much more patience back then, you know? Like, gosh,
Well,
feeling old now.
it's interesting though, because even I didn't realize it in the question, but parents are outsourcing because life is so busy, and we're parents are literally using the internet to outsource some time to make dinner, to vacuum, to do the laundry. I mean, I know with our we have two 5-year-old grandkids. We have 10. We have two 5-year-olds. And man, it's super easy. If I have them, okay, you guys can have the iPad for a few minutes. Grandma's going to make something to eat. And
Yeah,
it's like, I don't know what they're seeing.
I know.
I don't know what they're actually watching. I think they're watching a show, but
I know. I know.
I
It's tough.
know it's wild. It's very interesting. So, children today often enter the internet through games like Roblox, which is, I've kind of seen in the news a lot lately. Why do you think parents underestimate the risks of these types of platforms?
I think it just looks innocent, right? It's like a bunch of colorful Lego. It's a Lego land. I mean, it looks innocent. What possibly could go wrong, right? But what's in these games are communities. And any type of game that has chat features like Roblox, I don't know if I think Minecraft has it. What's going on? I don't know how deep y'all want to get into this, but have y'all heard of the 764 cult group?
No, we should
Okay,
hear it.
so there is a online group that was actually started by a 15-year-old boy. He was arrested, I think not even that long ago. His name was Bradley Coppenhead, or he went by Felix on Roblox. And he created this group of what they call sextortionists. And so what they do, and this is with children, and even though he's arrested, his group lives on, right? They're still doing this. In fact, I had a friend who was a victim of this recently, a friend's son who was a victim of this recently. And what they do is they pose as children and they form a relationship. I mean, this is very groomer like. You know, they're going to act like they are your friend, they find you attractive, kind of like playing either a girlfriend role or a boyfriend role. And then things turn sinister because once you start sending them over pictures of yourself, like revealing photos of yourself, they then turn around and say, okay, well, if you don't send me this amount of money, then I'm going to expose this on the internet. I'm going to turn you into the cops and accuse you of being a pedophile. I mean, it's insane. So that's how it started off. But then it went even darker because these people, I mean, I believe this is so demonic. So it went even darker, and they have children doing the most unthinkable acts on camera, almost like bragging rights. And I'm talking engaging in like bestiality, slitting their wrist, self harm. They have had children commit suicide on the internet, on camera, as to show their loyalty to this group. I mean, it is a satanic cult, and it is very, very alive and well. It is still happening to children today. And it's extremely heartbreaking. I've watched a couple podcasts on it and read up a lot about it. And they have been grown men who have been arrested, but this is a huge group of predators. Like it is a organized network of predators that get on gaming platforms like Roblox, Minecraft, They what they do is they get you off the gaming platform and they get you onto a separate platform like a chat like Discord or WhatsApp or Telegram so that they can continue these conversations that would ultimately get them kicked out of a game like Roblox. So
Wow.
it's wild. So
I never
parents,
heard that before. I'm
yeah, it's called
very naive.
764.
764.
That's
I
the
have
name of the
not
group.
heard that, but I Roblox was one that I took away from my kids because I mean there's a lot of stuff that's been said, but I was letting them play it because I'm like, oh, it does just look like a fun game for you to play, you know? But then I had heard on the internet that there was a game that you could shoot Charlie Kirk. And I was like, is this real? I asked my son because he was the one that was playing a lot with his friends on there, and he's like, "Oh yeah, like it was nothing."
Yeah.
And it seriously traumatized me that
It,
like
oh,
he
it
just
gets
he had saw it. He's like, "Oh well, I didn't play it," but I'm like, "Oh, but you saw it and you didn't think anything of it. Like you shouldn't have told me, or like you
Oh, it
know."
gets so demonic. There's actually Fortnite. My son, his friends play Fortnite. You know, he comes home, he wants to play Fortnite. And there are lands or portals that you can go through where there is like a satanic character that you can um like give him things to get more powers. It's the most bizarre thing. And I'm like, who's coming up with this? Who is
Right.
coming up with this stuff for children's games, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely something that parents should be aware of. I don't know. I mean, this isn't one of our questions, but do you think that some of this stuff, because, I mean, especially for me, some of it's so outlandish that I think, is that even real? Or is this even really happening? You know,
Mhm. It's
because I
so
just,
extreme. Yeah.
I have no connection to it at all.
Yeah, and I think that right there is why parents' guards are down. Not because they're uninvolved. A lot of these kids that become victims of sextortion or even of victims of the 764 cults, they have good parents that love them, that care about them. They just don't know that this stuff is going on. And they're like, that would never happen to my kid. That's definitely
Right.
not going to happen to me, not in my house. And then next thing you know, your child is dealing with mental health issues. They're withdrawing from the things that they used to love. They're hiding things from you. They're spending hours alone in their bedroom. They're up late at night. Like those are signs parents need to look for because they're talking to somebody they shouldn't be talking to at that
Yeah.
point, you know?
We're going to get into that. Um, so, what are, like, if somebody wants to take notes, what are real signs that, so when, should we like clarify age groups? Are there real signs for different age children? Because, I mean, children as young as 3 can
Yeah, but they're
scroll,
not
can
really.
figure out ways. So they probably wouldn't show signs of it because they can't read and they can't type. But
Yeah.
I mean, are 7-year-olds subject to the same things 18-year-olds are subject to as far as internet
I
type?
think I think it depends on the parent and the parental controls because a lot of these games they do have parental controls where you can block certain things out. Like Fortnite, you can block the chat feature. If parents don't know that, then you have all of these people that your child doesn't know trying to talk to them, and that's a problem. So, um, when my kid gets on any of these gaming platforms, I'm like, let me make sure there's not a chat feature because that's where the trouble comes in. When you have people outside of your home trying to access your child in any
Right.
way. And so that's something parents definitely need to be aware of is blocking a lot of these things. When a child becomes super secretive, they're hiding away. Statistically, most of the time it's middle school children or middle school age children that become victims of
Okay.
things like this, or even high school, middle school through high school. I actually had some statistics on that. Let me pull that up.
Yeah,
It
because I think
says,
that would be very helpful to parents.
yeah, it says around 70% of victims are between ages 13 and 15, so middle school kids, and 85% of child victims never report it to authorities, which is really scary.
85%.
Yeah, so they've been, they've sent pictures online, or they feel guilty, like they've done something wrong, and so they don't say anything. They don't tell an adult what's going on before it becomes too late.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of the sad part about it is, everyone like a slippery slope is, until you realize how far you've gone. And then, yeah, kids don't want to say anything. And then if you don't have parents that are pressing the issue, I mean, you can see it happen so easily. Even if they are very loving parents, and then if you're the complete opposite side of it, you're just like, don't even let them breathe because you want to see everything that they're doing, or like not let them be in control of anything. That's also part of, like, could also be bad.
Yeah, I
So,
agree. I know it's like this balance of helping them navigate a world that we didn't have to live in.
right.
It concerning, I am very close with all of my grandkids, and I'm going like tallying up the number in my head. Some of my grandkids would think that some online things were a big deal, and some of my grandkids would not. Why would I say anything? It wasn't, it wasn't a big deal. I didn't think anything about it. Like with the
Yeah.
Charlie Kirk thing. I mean, he's as tender hearted of his child as you can get. And he's like, well, I didn't do it.
Right.
He didn't
So they
think
don't
to
say
tell about
anything.
it. Like all of it I just wonder, the levels at which kids are dealing with these things. Like, do they think it's not a big deal? Do they just not want to say anything to their parents? Are they afraid of it so they don't want to say anything? Like,
Yeah, no, that is so valid, because I don't know how this came up. I teach fourth grade.
mhm,
Um, and I teach at a private school. So these kids have parents that are very, very proactive. All of their parents are extremely proactive and involved in their child's life and supportive in every single way. Just amazing families. Um, and I was talking to them, and one of them was talking, well, they were talking to their friends, and one of them was basically saying, like, oh, they're on Roblox, and they talk about Roblox all the time, and they're like, yeah, tried to send me um somebody asked me to send a picture of myself, and I didn't know what to think about that. I mean, I didn't do it, and I was like, well, did you tell your parents? They strangers should not be asking you for anything, any type of picture of you on a
mhm.
gaming platform. And they're innocent, they're not
Right.
thinking,
Yeah.
so they didn't think, oh, let me go run and tell a parent. So I think those are actual conversations that parents need to have with their kids. Like, these are things that you should not be asked online. Like, if this ever happens, please come and speak to me about it. I think those are just conversations that need to be had more often.
Yeah, I agree.
That's a good rule of thumb, though. I mean, that definitely could get the conversation activated and keep it going. If
Mm-hmm.
this happens, I need to know about it. You're not in trouble. It's not anything that you did, but we need to make sure that
Yeah.
everybody's doing what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I'm thinking of a story that one of my friend's sons actually uh was a victim of the sextortion that I was talking about. And he went months without telling his mom what was going on. Because he was scared. I sent these photos. I'm going to be in trouble. He thought he was talking to this is a teenage boy. He thought he was talking to a cute girl, right? Texts were exchanged. And then the blackmail started happening. And he didn't tell his mom until they started threatening his family, threatening to kill his own family members. And so at that point, he's scared, right? So at that point he was like, I have to go talk to somebody. But it went on for months, and he was sending them money, just trying to get them to leave him alone. So yeah, I mean, having these conversations, like, you are not in trouble. I am in your corner. If someone is asking you for things, if somebody's asking you for money, if somebody's asking you for pictures of yourself, I mean, you were 8 years old. Nobody on the internet should be asking you for any photos of yourself.
Right.
Like, those are just, if we're going to have kids that are engaging in an online world, you can't bypass those conversations. You just can't.
Well,
I mean,
and you
it's
have, yeah, like you have to be willing to have the hard talks way earlier than we've ever had to have them, because
way earlier.
I mean, I mean, the stuff at the age that they're doing things in this current time frame is so different than what we grew up in.
Yeah.
Well, something that's worth noting that this is, again, I didn't see it as much as a parent as I do as a grandparent. Children have limited cognitive abilities. Their brains are still growing. They're still learning how to think. They're still learning what, every action has a reaction. They're still learning all of these things, and for them to navigate the online world, they're up against beasts that they can't do anything about, you know?
Right. Right. They're innocent. They don't That's why they're being targeted. And a lot of times, I made a post about the 764 cult a while back, and there was a lot of parents in the comment section that's like, my kids aren't that stupid. And I'm like, these aren't stupid children. They're just they're children, right? They
Right.
need parents that are talking to them about these things. That's why kids have parents, right? You got to have these conversations. It's not a matter of a child being stupid because they don't see the warning signs. It's a matter of, yeah, they have limited, like you said, cognitive abilities. They're not going to recognize the signs like you and I would recognize the signs. They're just not.
No.
Right.
And I think for us to expect them to is our mistake, not theirs.
100%. Yeah,
And I don't
absolutely.
know. I've never even heard of that before, that whatever that group was
I
called.
definitely, like, the FBI has just did like a whole investigation on this and arrested, I want to say it was like 7 different pedophiles on Roblox. I mean, you'll have to go look it up. It
I
is
knew
it
I
is
had
wild.
heard like chatter about them being under, like, them getting sued right now and a bunch of stuff going on with it. And I haven't looked into it personally myself, but I was like, yeah, I think we're done with Roblox in our household.
That was
Like,
enough. Yeah.
yeah, we're good.
Yeah, I think we're done. So what are the most practical steps Christian families can take right now to protect their kids while still raising them to be wise and discerning? We talked about, having the conversations, but Christian families, do you sometimes feel like that, Jesus said to be wise as serpents, gentle as lambs. I feel like sometimes Christians want to get so clean and so pure, they don't even want to deal with any of these uglies, these
I
ugly
agree. Yeah.
situations.
Or they're like wearing rose-colored glasses when it comes to
Yeah,
their own children. It's like,
right.
your child is curious. Your child is probably not your child is asking questions,
Right.
and who's going to answer those questions? Is it going to be you? Because if you're not answering those questions and you're not jumping in front of the hard stuff, somebody else is, and they're discipling. If you're not discipling your kid, someone else is discipling your kid, and it's not going to be the way that you would want them discipled. So Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I think as teachers, we see that often. You know, you get on a phone with a parent and it's like, "Oh, not my child," you know? It's like, I promise you, your
Yeah.
child, yes, your child did that. Your child. But I think, we want to see the best in our kids and we should. That's I'm not saying not to see the best in your kids, but also don't wear rose-colored glasses because they're humans and
Right.
they're going to make mistakes and they're going to explore things and they're curious and it's just you getting in front of the hard stuff and helping them to make good choices. You can't make every choice for them, but you can help them to make good choices for themselves and to see the warning signs for themselves, for
Yeah.
sure.
It's great advice. Great advice. I became a Christian. Robin was, I think Robin was 6, 5 or 6, about there. And I became a Christian, and they really were like, okay, our world was turned upside down there for a little while. Things
It
got
changes.
different, and I became a Christian. They didn't. I mean, they eventually did, but I think it's a
Wow.
good reminder for me that if parents are Christians, it doesn't automatically mean that their kids are. Their kids are still out in the world with other
Yes.
kids experiencing the world.
Yes.
And
They're
I just,
still, I mean, biblically speaking, they're still lost people in need of salvation, in need
yeah,
of the truth, in need of discipleship. So
right.
to I mean, you can raise your kids well and raise them to honor God and go to church and love the Lord. And, the Bible says, train up a child in the way they should go and they won't depart from that. I hold on to that scripture. I believe that for my own children. But I also recognize like they have to personally make that choice for themselves. That's not my choice to make, so and I believe that they will because God is faithful and God is good and we've taught them the ways of the Lord and we have discipled them, but ultimately that's their decision. And right now, they're navigating this world and are having to they're going to have to learn that good choices, you bear good fruit. Bad choices lead to destruction. Like that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's the principle. That's how it works every single time.
Well, for kids, sometimes bad choices are the much more exciting ones.
Right.
Well, and as much as I would love to
And
believe that my kids never do anything wrong, it's like every kid is going to do wrong things. Every kid is going to push your limit to try to see how far they can go. And if, you know, parents aren't there to constantly be like, no, no, no,
mm-hmm.
I, it's just
Well,
trying to raise up Christian or kids in a godly manner and instilling Jesus in them at a young age is that barrier of like you can't go that far because once you leave from
Mm-hmm.
me you're not going to be obedient to me anymore. You need to be obedient to God and you need to learn how to be obedient.
Yeah.
And
And letting them, I mean, I think sometimes with Christian families, you want to shield them from like the bad mistakes that you've made, in your past before Christ, and you're like, I'm going to protect my kids from this. But honestly, that's where you learned your hardest life lessons. And so sometimes our children have to fall and learn, you know, from those mistakes. And so not making every single choice for your kid, I think is wisdom. They have to be able to make those decisions for themselves and navigate this world with wisdom on their own at some point.
yeah. Well, it's interesting that being a Christian, there are conversations that I just don't want to have. And I question, does God want me having this conversation? And you have to relate that in some ways to your children. Does God want me to have this conversation? I don't want to, but is it necessary? Does it need to happen? And I think that's, maybe pulling in some courage to ourselves, and got to do
It's
some
tough.
things that we don't want to do sometimes. And talking about some of these hard subjects with kids, I think, is
Yeah.
definitely.
It's also knowing the right timing, and I think as Christians, we have the Holy Spirit, and I think listening to that inner voice that we have, like I always tell parents, I'm like, when you feel that something's off, like listen to that. Um, we have to listen to the Lord leading us and speaking to us, because if God gave you these children, He is going to be faithful, and He's going to give you the wisdom that you need to parent them well. And I just believe that wholeheartedly. Like, my kids are called for something very specific in this life. And so God's going to give me the wisdom to steward that, to see their giftings, to see what He's called them to do. And I just ask and I pray for every parent that they would have the wisdom needed to see the giftings in their child and be able to steward that well. Um, I mean, are we going to be perfect? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But God is so faithful, and He helps us to navigate all of these things. There are times when I'm like, God, I don't know what to do. Help me. I do not know what to do. Do I let my child go spend the night with his friend? Am I, those are just
Yeah.
hard decisions to make.
Yes, they are.
Because you want to shield them and protect them, and there are some things that you can't get. Like, if they aren't shielded from certain things, like they will never get that back.
Right.
Um, And so it's like, God, just give me the wisdom and clarity to know, and not to listen to what everybody else around me says, like, this is what you should do, or you're being too this, or you're being too. There's so many voices around us. We have to hear from the Lord when
Yeah.
it comes to parenting our children. Like, that's the only thing that I can lean on, really, at the end of the day.
Amen. We like to end every podcast with a golden nugget question. We didn't tell you about this, but
That's totally fine.
we love it. If you could give a golden nugget piece of advice to anyone, and if they took your advice that it would improve their lives, what would it be?
Right off the bat, I think your devotional life changes everything. Like, your time with the Lord. I know life is busy, life is crazy. I struggle with this myself, so I'm preaching to myself. But you've got to find time to just be with the Lord, to be in His Word, to pray, to quiet yourself and hear the voice of God. And it will change your life. It will completely, radically, like, it is what has changed my life. Hearing from God, walking in His truth, walking in His ways. There's fruit that comes from that you will not get anywhere else, and it's gonna actually redeem your time. Make the time, because it will redeem
Right.
your time. You will have more time to accomplish. Like, you'll be more productive because you're walking in the way that the Lord has led you. So, yeah, that would be my, like, number one thing. Like, make time to get into the word of the Lord. Like, it will radically change your life.
That's
100%.
beautiful. I love that. It has been delightful to talk to you. I'm so glad that we could bring it together. It was
Yes.
great.
I know. And look, I mean, what a miracle. We've only had, what, 2
I
interruptions the
know.
whole time.
And he's so cute. It was okay.
We really enjoyed meeting him.
He
Yeah,
was
thank
so
y'all for
smiley
having
and
me.
happy.
Is this gonna be like a post on your Instagram? I don't know how live works.
Yep.
Is it
So we'll post and then we'll invite you to share on your page as well. And then we will also add it to our YouTube podcast.
okay?
So,
Awesome. Sounds
Yeah.
good.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Thank y'all. Bye.